You are now listening to the next episode of the Renegade podcast. My guest that's joining me, his name is Andrew Fenichel. He's the NBA NFL YouTuber for 100,000 subscribers. He's very knowledgeable. And let's go right at it. Hello!
Hey, man.
How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Thanks for adjusting the time a little bit.
Hey, bro. Just let you know, this is gonna be audio based, so you don't gotta show your face. But
Okay.
I appreciate it.
So
Is that a John Wall jersey at the back?
Of course, brother. Of course.
How you doing, bro? What have you been doing recently?
I'm good. What about you?
Pretty good. I really appreciated you accepting my request for this interview. Because you've been always one of my favorite content creators, so I really appreciate you came out and you showed out and stuff like that.
No, of course, man. I appreciate the support and, appreciate you reaching out. However I can help,
Yeah.
Obviously.
Is this the first time? I don't want to interrupt you, but is this the first time you've done an interview like this?
No.
Okay.
Is this going Are you publishing this? Or
Yeah.
Is this,
Yeah. I'm going to be promoting it a lot because you're my first big guest.
Oh, cool. Do you have a podcast or where is this going to go?
YouTube. Podcast. I do have a podcast. I got to
But you
figure...
don't do video.
It won't be video, it'll just be audio.
Well, interesting. Why don't you do video? If it's YouTube focused, you should probably do video.
Yeah, I just want to sort of kind of go old school with it. Like video is interesting, but one of the biggest issues I find with podcasts nowadays is people focus too much on the setup and how things should be presented, which I get because algorithmically, people are going to be attached to something that they can see. Because back in the old days, radio, you only heard the voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing, right? So for example, back in the day, do you know who Dan Patrick is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Dan Patrick used to sort of run his own radio station. He used to sort of run radio back in the day with ESPN. And whenever someone Dan Marino would come on, you only heard him and Dan Marino. That's it. You didn't care where they were sitting. You didn't really care how they looked. You just heard the conversation, however long or short it was, and you found something that's sort of valuable you can learn from it. So I'm trying to sort of emulate that to an extent.
All right, bring back the old school sports media.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Happy to be your first guest.
Yeah, for sure. So, what inspired you to, get into content creation? Because I was looking for your videos, and it seems like everything you've been doing has been quite recent compared to the other ones.
Yeah, compared to other creators?
Yeah.
Compared to other stuff? Yeah, no, you're not wrong, man. It's, I've basically been doing YouTube for 2.5 years, almost 3 now. I'd say I've been taking YouTube seriously for 2.5 years.
Okay.
I've obviously had posted videos before then, but it really came down to pivoting out of traditional media,
Yeah.
which is what I went to school for.
Yeah.
I studied journalism in college.
Yeah.
For a long time, I thought I was going to kind of go down that path and
Yeah.
be a local reporter and build your way up, like they always tell you to do. And I just kind of identified YouTube and social media as an avenue to building an audience and being able to be creative and talk about sports, which was always the dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much 2.5 years ago, I just kind of started posting. And
Yeah, that's
simple as that.
that's a really inspiring story because funny enough, I'm in college at Humber up in Etobicoke, Canada.
Okay.
Ontario, and the program I'm in is broadcast radio, which is essentially journalism, but with extra steps, but with radio stuff involved. And it's the same thing, right? I thought, the same thing. Then I realized, I gotta at least put myself out there, get my toes in the water with this sort of content creation, because that's the future. right? Like, as you see, like, the ESPN first take ratings, you see, like, Skip Bayless, he's off the air now. All these other guys are off the air. Colin Cowherd is the only guy, I think his ratings have risen along with, like, First Things First. Everyone else is, like, they're all declining. And they're kind of realizing, like, a lot of people would rather see somebody who's not sort of a corporate journalist, somebody who's a fan, somebody who might not know as much as the other guys on TV, but they'll be more honest with their thoughts and not sound so contrarian and stuff like that.
Dude, what's crazy is it's not even the future anymore.
Yeah.
It's so obviously the present, and I would almost argue it's almost like the past in a way. Like, if you're not on social and you're working in media, you're behind.
Yeah.
Like, if you're some of these older talent that can't drive numbers,
yeah,
you're behind. Like, look at Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
I mean, he's now one of the 3 biggest talent at ESPN.
Yeah.
Because he dominated social, starting at Barstool and, of course, doing his own thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, it's gotten to the point where it's a necessity now.
It is a necessity.
It is the game.
It is a necessity because, like, it's funny actually because I was talking to my friend. He's in my class. His name's Jacob, and we were just sort of talking about how, like, this sort of new direction that sort of sports media has been taking, this sort of rage bait. Now it's almost extinct. It's going to become extinct because a lot of these people will be like, this is not how a normal conversation goes. Like, people yelling at each other, that's just not entertaining anymore, right?
And there's just so many more options. 10 years ago, or whenever the peak of Skip Bayless versus Stephen A was on First Take.
Yeah.
You had YouTube and you had a few content creators, but for the most part, if you wanted sports content, that was your option.
Yeah.
Now it's like, if you don't want to hear, and look, I say all this as someone who respects Stephen A and what he's done for this industry.
Yeah.
Considers him the GOAT, but if you don't want that, well then, right, you have 100 different YouTube creators that are going to talk about the game in a way you want them to.
Yeah.
So he's got more options now.
Yeah, there's more options, right? And sort of now you seeing that now they're going all in. So all these sort of corporate, like ESPN, Fox Sports, they're going all in on, like, TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, and it's like it's not hitting the same because they don't fundamentally understand what draws people in, right? At some point, I think what's going to happen is that in the future, I think there will be a new sort of, like, ultimatum in terms of just, how the NFL or how the NBA allows their games to be viewed. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if, like, Netflix is hosting a lot of these big playoff games, Thursday night, Monday Night Football. I mean, they're doing it with the Christmas stuff, which, again, like, I don't know. But if it works out, then, like, they're kind of cooked.
ESPN?
Yeah, for sure. Like, so I want to sort of, I go to your first video, for example. Do you remember your first video that you uploaded?
On the channel?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still up, actually, but it's a vlog of me doing play-by-play for college baseball. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were to, I don't know, if you were to tell yourself 2.5 years ago of where you are right now, I don't know if that person back then would really comprehend what you've just been doing, because what you've been doing is kind of remarkable, actually. You really think about it?
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the first video on my channel is actually from probably 8 years ago at this point. That was that road trip when I went to Penn State and kind of vlogged my experience doing college play-by-play.
Yeah.
Was when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if I had told that guy, that 18-year-old Andrew, what I was doing now, I mean, I wouldn't even. It would be hard to comprehend.
It was
2.5 years ago. I don't want this to come across as cocky, but I have always had a lot of confidence in myself and confidence in YouTube as a meritocracy of a platform.
Yeah.
That I knew I'd figure it out. I definitely did not expect to have this much success and get this lucky this quickly.
Yeah.
But I think 2.5 years ago I would have been like, oh yeah, at some point I would have figured it out.
Yeah.
But it's been an awesome ride, man, and I'm blessed every single day to be able to do what I do.
Okay. So I don't know if I could ask you this question, but like, so does your life experiences, does that influence your content when you do like longer form stuff? Because I know you do like 15-minute videos about reading people's takes. Does that kind of sort of influence?
Life experiences meaning, what do you mean?
Meaning like around sports. That's what I'm saying. Like your educational background, does that kind of influence what you do, or is that like a totally separate thing?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm understanding your question correctly,
yeah,
for sure. Like everything from growing up in Washington D.C. and that therefore making me a fan of the Wizards and the Commanders. And talking about them in my content. To I minored in college in data science.
Yeah,
which is I think something that a lot of people probably don't know. And I have a very analytical background.
Yeah.
So I try to incorporate stats and a fleshed out argument.
Yeah.
And analytics. I'm not like a total analytics nerd, right? Like I'm not I appreciate the eye test and all that, that stuff too. But yeah, for sure. I think I could probably do more of that. And I actually do want to talk more about almost I want to find a way in my content to bridge the gap and talk more about my personal life and life experiences and tell stories. I'm working on all that, and I'm glad you brought up the long form content because that is kind of the avenue to do that in.
Yeah.
Because in a 60-second short, you can't really go on a tangent about a life story.
Yeah, you can't.
But, yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of what it's all about. It's why every creator is different. Everyone comes at content from a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I really that's a great answer, actually. So this is one thing I've been thinking about a lot, because I don't know if you do this type of content. Well, you kind of do, but like this whole the NFL, the NBA is all scripted. And it's so funny because I was talking to someone, I did an interview with someone else yesterday, and he believes in that stuff. And I tried pushing back, and he wasn't really. He was more open minded, but he kind of was set in his ways about that.
No, your buddy actually thinks the sports are scripted.
Huh?
Your buddy actually thinks sports are scripted.
The guy was not my buddy. The guy I was interviewing.
Oh, the guy you're interviewing.
Yeah, okay. He thinks that, and I tried to sort of kind of approach it in different angles, and he was sort of I don't know, things just don't make sense. I'm like, look, that's your opinion at the end of the day, but yeah, that's kind of ludicrous. How do you deal with that? Do people accuse you of covering for the NFL and you're part of this, you're part of that? How do you deal with that?
No, and I'm glad they don't, because I'm clearly not important enough to anybody to have any influence like that. I definitely did do. I had a series on my TikTok actually, where it really blew up, and I've done it on YouTube too. And sometimes I'll bring it back for the NBA Finals, where I'll say, oh, the NFL leaked the script, or the NBA leaked the script for Game 1 of the Finals. But I try to come across as it's clearly a joke.
Yeah.
Right? If you watch beyond 3 seconds, it's clearly just my prediction for the game. I'm not out here spreading Alex Jones level sports conspiracies. So, right. Who does get that actually really bad is some of my buddies who work more closely in the sports betting space.
Oh.
They'll get criticized for, you're in bed with the books, right? You're feeding out bad picks. You're trying to influence the public money.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I like to think that my true fans who watch me every day pick up on my sarcasm anytime I do something out like that. Yeah,
that's the thing. A lot of things kind of get lost in translation, but there's this video you made about it was the 3-point line, how different teams could implement different courts. I really love that video. And it kind of brings to a problem of sort of the discourse around the ratings. And I'm on one hand, who cares, right?
Right.
Like good basketball is good basketball. Who gives a shit if it comes from the OKC Thunder or like the Washington Wizards or the Hornets or whoever, right? But on the other hand, I look at the NFL, right? And there's clearly a top dog in the NFL. His name is Patrick Mahomes. And the NBA, quite frankly, doesn't have that. There used to be LeBron, and then it was Kobe and Duncan and yada, yada, yada. But, like, they don't have a guy who is chasing something of, like, something unfathomable. Something that's a sort of immortality-like. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, despite all the parity, despite all the talent, it feels like the NBA is kind of becoming kind of like hockey, where like there is a lot of talent, there's a heck of a ton of parity, but like no one really cares like that. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. I also think fans don't really know what they want.
Yeah.
I think fans are just naturally fickle these days.
Yeah, they are.
It's like, because even the parity argument, 8 years ago, everyone was like, "Oh, the NBA doesn't have enough parity. It's Cavs Warriors every year." And now the NBA, implemented these new salary cap rules with the second aprons.
Yeah.
Essentially dismantle super teams. And, now we've had, 6 straight years with a different NBA
champion. Yeah.
And everyone's like, there are no rivalries anymore. And, right, superstars don't stay on the same team. It's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. The ratings conversation, especially right now, is just like kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
I've been trying to just have fun with it, like the video you mentioned today, where it's clearly kind of ridiculous. But
yeah,
it's a fun video.
It is a fun video, but
right.
And also, the other thing I want to mention is like everybody keeps like it's so funny because like last year when the Timberwolves went on that run and Anthony Edwards was getting all these MJ conversations, in the back of my head I'm like, okay, I love the guy, but like that's just absurd. Like. And think about this for a second, right? Like, there's a guy in the NFL right now, right? We all know who it is. It's Mahomes, right? He's the closest thing to Jordan right now. The aura, the playoff success, the regular season success, even though his numbers haven't been great the last couple seasons. But, like, when he turns it on, like, no one's close to him. But when you say he's like Jordan, like, people look at you like you said something wild. And, like, that's the thing. The NFL clearly understands he's the guy. The NBA doesn't know what to do with their guys. They just don't. They keep hanging on to LeBron and Steph. Those guys' teams, let's be real, they're not going to win a championship anytime soon.
It is interesting that the big market problem, if you want to call it that, does seem to be a bigger point of contention in the NBA than it is in the NFL. Yeah. Kansas City is not a big market.
Not at all.
I mean, I bet most NFL fans couldn't even tell you if the Chiefs play in Missouri or Kansas.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But you look but I don't want to interrupt you, but think about every Monday night or Thursday night game with the Chiefs. And think about how they built up every game. Like, it's like an NBA Finals type of game and Mahomes intro and all these, like, say what you want. You don't have to like the Chiefs or Mahomes at all. But you cannot deny that the impact he's made on the league is one of one. To me, this might be a hot take, but like Mahomes is the most revolutionary player in NFL history, and it's not even close. Turning Kansas City into the center of the universe in sports is absolutely insane. I would argue it's bigger than what Jordan did for Chicago, right? Because he wasn't really there from Chicago. He's from North Carolina. I know Mahomes is from Texas, but like you get the point, right?
Yeah, that's a take for sure. More impactful than Jordan in Chicago.
Yeah, that's
the thing about that one, but I don't think you're that far off.
Like, because if he completes that three-peat, I mean, there's another thing I'm thinking about. Like, I'm thinking about doing a video about, like, is Mahomes better than LeBron? Like, it might sound absurd now, but he were to three-peat, like, same amount of rings, more competition in his conference, especially in his prime. No disrespect to, like, Paul George or, like, Jimmy Butler, but they're not Lamar Jackson or even Josh Allen in terms of just, like, resume or talent, right? So
yeah, I mean, do you already think Mahomes is better than Brady? all time?
No. Look, I love Brady. I really do. And here's the thing. Here's the thing I was thinking about, right? I feel like people misunderstand Brady's career so much. Like, they think that he was just this game manager that all of a sudden turned into the best quarterback of all time in '07. Like, that's not how it works. He always had that ability. It's just he never had the receivers of Peyton Manning or even like an Aaron Rodgers later on. You know, like, could just take a top off of defense, right? I'll say this: when Brady won in '04, to me, he was the second best quarterback in the league. He might not have the MVPs of Peyton, but by the time in '07, he, to me, was clearly the best player in the league. In '07 to 2018, he was, the de facto best quarterback and best player in the league. It's just, he went on a drought, and other guys won rings to catch up to him. And we kind of, the media kind of became obsessed with Aaron Rodgers and fan base and stuff like that. And then Mahomes comes along, and then all the other guys come along, and it kind of seems like Brady wasn't really the best for a little while, but he had a decade run where, like, he was clearly the best quarterback, and people don't really want to give that credit for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't he a Pro Bowler in his second year?
Yeah.
And he was, like, top 3 MVP finisher by year 4?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you. Anyone who thinks Brady was a game manager, we're not talking about Brock Purdy here, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Brady was different. Brady had some serious arm talent, too.
Yeah, and to me, like, Brady was a lot more talented than people give him credit for. Like,
100%.
Like, it's just that he went in the 6th round. Let's be real. If someone like Brady was even, let's just pretend that you didn't know what was going to happen in Brady's career, but let's just pretend that he was a prospect, played in Michigan, right? And let's say he was on that team that won the national championship last year. You're not telling me he does not go, like, 1st round? Just based off just, like, his mechanics, his fundamentals and stuff like that?
Spot on.
It's just that teams were just... It felt like teams were... They kind of overthought it, It's so funny when people act like, oh, Brady couldn't do this with whatever. I'm like, dude, don't people forget that Miami in the early 2000s had an incredible defense? Don't people forget that the Jets had an actually good team back in that day? They just needed a quarterback?
The Sanchez.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Don't people forget the Niners still had Jerry and Terrell back in the day? No, I don't know about Jerry. Jerry wasn't there, but Terrell Owens was there. Right? Don't people forget that the Giants, literally in the year that he was drafted, I think they went to the Super Bowl against the Ravens, right? Or somewhere like that. Like, come on now. Like, if you're good, if you're that type of guy, you'll be that guy anywhere you go. So I don't really buy that. But what do you think? Do you think Travis Hunter will play both sides of the ball when he gets drafted?
I defer to what I've heard ex-players say on podcasts. And it sounds like every single one of them says, like, no chance. At least, yeah. And it also doesn't seem like it'd be smart either.
What do you mean by that?
I think he'll play corner. I'm sure they'll mix him in at receiver a few snaps a game, and right, maybe red zone packages or I don't know, right? Like, and that's great, I don't think it needs to be like a huge thing that he's not going to be a full-time double, side of the field guy.
But there's guys who break the norm. Like, look at Shohei Ohtani, for example. Like, no one would have thought him being a pitcher and him being an MVP level batter was possible. You know what I'm saying? Before Ruth.
No, but it'd be like if Ohtani was pitching every game. It's like the physical toll of, throwing 100 pitches is a massive toll on your arm. Don't get me wrong. But like, the physical toll of playing that many snaps in an NFL game every single week. Yeah. You know how much running that is. You don't run in baseball.
That's facts, but I don't know. I'm more optimistic on the two-way thing than most, but I'm very interested. Because,
so what do you think? He'll play 50% of the offensive snaps?
I think what's possible is that I think, to me, his potential is simple. if Travis Hunter fulfills his potential on a team that's good and competitive, I think he could become like one of the greatest we have ever seen, period, regardless of position. And he could be the best player in the league. That's how much potential he has. It's just...
If he plays both sides.
If he plays both sides. Hell, he could play one side and be in the conversation. That's how talented he is. That's how talented I think he is. It's just that he can't go to a team that's dysfunctional, that doesn't know what to do with him. Like he can't go to the Jaguars or the Raiders.
Well, you might not have much of a choice.
I know, but I'm interested because I was thinking about this, right? Because obviously Buffalo's been going crazy this season, and they might not get the number one seed, but it looks like they might go back to the conference finals. And I'm like, if they fail, if they get first rounded, I'm like, they might get really desperate. I'm like, okay. No, we can't. Sean McDermott, he kind of brought us out of the drought. Brandon Beane drafted Josh Allen. You're not going to get rid of Josh Allen. So, what if we trade up for Travis Hunter? As like a Hail Mary to save the franchise type of thing.
I mean, will you have the draft capital to do it?
That's interesting. I haven't checked. But I think a team might just like, okay. I think a good team might be like, okay. Like, we have everything else. We just need this one guy to complete our whole thing. I don't know. Some people are mentioning the Niners, and I'm like, they tried this whole song and dance with Trey Lance, and they're not going to do that again. But right. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The draft is fun.
It is fun for sure, but do you think that Arch Manning might be like a Heisman guy next year for college?
Honestly, I hope so. I think it'd be a fun storyline.
It would be.
I haven't truthfully watched him enough to know, or I don't know enough about like the college football landscape, but he seems like he's a talented kid. I know he was ranked highly, so yeah. I'll see why not.
Yeah, I know. Everyone who thinks this whole like Shador discourse is just so absurd. Like, so many people were making up things to be upset about it. Oh, he's cocky. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. Think about it, bro. If you're a fan of any of the teams drafting up in the top 4, top 5, you need someone who is confident in their ability. You don't want another Daniel Jones where like he needs to be coddled like a kid to even play functionally. No disrespect, but
true. I would push back a little bit and be like, if you're the type of quote-unquote confident guy to be, and to show that, you have to be flexing a Rolex before every game.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? Like, is Caleb Williams saying, hey, we don't have to punt this year? Is that confidence? Or is that just being an idiot?
Oh.
Jaden Daniels is clearly confident, but he doesn't need to rub it in your face. He just knows.
I think
quiet confidence is real confidence in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, I don't think Shador would say something like that, but I do think that these franchises can't get picky. Obviously, the quarterback draft is not as deep as it was last year, and I'm like, you don't really have that many options, right? Yeah. So I'm like, if I'm the Giants, if I'm the Raiders, you need a spark. You need something, and much as I like Cam Ward, besides him, like, it kind of like, you have Carson Beck, and you have these other guys, it's like, I don't know, man.
Or maybe you just take Travis Hunter and wait till next year.
That's the thing, too. Who's available next year? Like 2026. Who's available? I don't even...
Yeah, it's obviously too far out.
It's too far out. Who? Dylan Raiola? Like, he has some talent, but everyone looks at him as the Mahomes copycat. You want that? Like...
Yeah, right.
Arch Manning, that would be interesting, but, like, again, you don't know, right? You don't know. You see a lot of guys just pop out of nowhere, right? So, So I want to get your thoughts on who you think is the dark horse Super Bowl pick to make the Super Bowl or win the whole thing in the AFC or the NFC.
Good question. I think the Packers are probably the easy answer if they count. But, just given that, Jordan Love played well in the playoffs last year, and they have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They're
Yeah.
clearly battle tested by playing in that division all year.
Yeah.
I'd like to hype up my Commanders here.
Yeah, you know, honestly, hear me out. If the Commanders win against the Eagles this week, they're winning that division. And anything else after that, it's kind of like, you know, anything's possible. You know what I'm saying? They're at home. James playing really well. That defense is playing really well, actually. I know they didn't really... I mean, that Saints game really came down to the last play. But that was more of a... That's kind of more of a freak game than anything else.
Yeah, we were kind of fucking around in the second half.
Yeah,
I don't know what we were doing, but like, yeah, I mean, we went up like what 21-3 or something.
Yeah. So the guys clearly let the foot off the gas, but I don't know. Like, it's weird. You know what's weird is that I swear the Eagles the last couple of seasons has been the definition of like your reality. Someone altering someone else's reality of perception. Some people think that the Eagles have the best roster, but best roster when best quarterbacks in the league, and that coach is being carried by that. Some people think Jalen Hurts ain't shit, and he's being carried by everybody else. Some people think the coach and quarterback ain't shit, and everyone else is carrying them. Like, bro, pick a lane.
Yeah.
Pick a lane. I'm not saying Jalen's a top 5 quarterback, but I'm saying you don't have downward success with a team without being at least pretty good, right? I mean, Jalen's had a better career than someone like Herbert in his own draft class. Herbert, Burrow, he's already had a better career than those guys. I'm not and look, he's not better than those guys, but I'm just saying, like, maybe lay off the kid a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So why do you think people feel that way about Jalen? Like, it just doesn't really make any sense to me. He doesn't say anything. Doesn't talk trash. He's a pretty tough guy. Doesn't miss any games.
I think it's because, well, one, I think the fact that he is a nice guy probably plays into it, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, he is kind of, I mean, same with Herbert. Burrow's got the cool guy mantra and the swagger, and people love that shit.
Yeah.
If Herbert, but like Herbert just sticks to himself, and so that's kind of, that makes you a target.
That does
like
make you
avoiding being a target, it almost makes you more of a target.
Yeah.
Because people will like say you don't have that it factor or whatever, which is, I mean, that part of it is dumb.
It is dumb.
But with Hurts, I think it's really that, like, yeah, I mean, his team is stacked.
It is.
And he is set up for a lot of success. It's same with Brock Purdy. And I think in the NFL, it's as hard as any other position in any other sport to separate production from, like, talent. Right?
Yeah.
Because the NFL, in a lot of ways, is the ultimate team sport.
It is.
Like, you don't have a good offensive line, you're cooked.
Yeah.
But also, if you hold on to the ball too long, well, then your offensive line's cooked.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to even know, like with Caleb Williams in Chicago, does he have a bad offensive line, or does he just not have good pocket presence?
Yeah.
Hard to say, you know? And
it is hard to say. It is
so
hard to
I think with Hurts, it's easy. And, I mean, look, for the Philadelphia fan base, I'm not a huge fan of. I think most people will agree with that.
Yeah.
So they don't make it easy. No one wants to root for Philly. They're not from the city. So,
yeah.
I think it's a bunch of factors.
It is a bunch of factors, right? And I want to sort of touch on I want to sort of touch on that because it's crazy to me that, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this or not, but like the last 10 to 15 years, I swear to you, the amount of conversation to say, I heard people say across multiple mediums that the Oscars don't count, the Grammys don't count, the MVP doesn't count, the Pro Bowl doesn't count, the All-Pro teams don't count, the Super Bowl doesn't count because of yada, yada, yada. And my thing is like, if you devalue everything, then what's the point of watching anything?
Right.
And like, at some point, you just gotta accept the results. Like, for example, if for example, the Bills win the Super Bowl, would I be upset? No. Would I be kind of pissed off that if they knocked us out? Yeah, I would be. But at the same time, I'm like, I mean, it is what it is.
It's like people who want to get rid of kickers in fantasy football.
That's crazy.
It's like, all right, sure, and you want to get rid of defense, and then at a certain point, like, what are we even playing? If it's just like draft a team and everything is so optimized and there's no luck involved in anything, there's no nuance. Then like, what's even the point? I agree with you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and obviously
sometimes that's not fair, and that's okay.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, and I was thinking about this thing about Herbert for a second because I watched a segment on First Things First about Herbert, and Nick Wright said something very, very interesting. He said that Justin Herbert came into the league as a very good quarterback, and he stayed as a very good quarterback. He hasn't like ascended to that elite level. And I know people say what. I know people are going to say, well, his coaching isn't good, and his offensive line trying to get him killed the first couple of seasons. His running game's not that good. The receivers, they couldn't stay healthy. And while I understand all that, it's very interesting that Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix are on pace to have 10-win seasons and match Herbert's success, despite both of them being on teams that people didn't think will do that good. Because a lot of people were very low on the Washington Commanders. So let's not pretend that was a guaranteed thing. I mean, was seeing takes that they're going to finish last in the division. And I'm like, what? Like,
yeah.
It just doesn't like make sense to me. And also I'm looking at this sort of big picture, right? So if I were to rank the top 10 quarterbacks in no order, right? Obviously, you got Mahomes and Lamar, Josh and Burrow, and you have guys like Goff and Stafford and Hurts and maybe Brock and Dak when he's healthy, and then you got guys like Baker and all that stuff. And I'm looking like, are we gonna have a conversation in a year and a half from now? Is Herbert even better than someone like Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels? Like, they might not have the production, but it seems like their teams. They have elevated their teams through different means, type of thing.
It makes you wonder what we don't see.
Yeah.
What happened, how these guys are in the locker rooms,
yeah.
Who's rallying the troops.
Yeah.
It makes you question it. But again, that's kind of the mystery, because maybe Herbert is a great leader. I don't know. I'm not in there.
Yeah.
But,
It does make you think, like, because remember, like, if someone were to tell you that Baker Mayfield is better than Justin Herbert like 2-3 years ago, people would have said, are you insane? Now it's like, well, shit, he might be. Like, I mean, everybody left him for dead when he signed for Tampa, and now, I mean, I'm saying this right now. If the Buccaneers win that division, bro, they might go all the way. Like, I'm not.
Does it get sleeper Super Bowl team?
That's a sleeper Super Bowl team for me. Bucs or Rams. I feel like Bucs and Rams conference finals matchup to me that would be amazing. Because again, both of these teams were left for dead during the season, and now they're hosting a ticket to New Orleans. Funny enough, which is in the same division as Tampa, which is funny.
Yeah.
I also want to kind of, have a little bit of discussion about what does the NBA need to do to sort of keep up with the NFL? Because it feels like, the ratings are getting destroyed. The NFL has been having more iconic moments recently, for sure. What do they need to do? Do they need to, like, change the rules or add another team, or what is it? What do they need to do?
If I knew, Adam Silver would have hired me and paid me a lot of money to fix their problems, because I don't think there is an answer. That's what's kind of weird. Like, the nature of the NBA's product is that any change that would, like, any of the logical changes, are counter correlated with how much money the league makes.
Yeah.
And what people don't talk about either is that also matters in terms of how much money the players make.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everyone's like, oh, the league is, Adam Silver, the commissioner's office, and the owners are so selfish because, they want to keep the games, they want to keep it at an 82-game season. They don't want to cut it to 60. It's like, okay, you realize that would also mean every player loses 25% of their paycheck.
Exactly.
A single player's going to agree to that.
No way.
It's not just the owners being selfish here. I mean, I would argue it's the players in a lot of ways too, right? This is what the whole CBA is about. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I do think like a logical thing they can fix is just making like a streaming package.
Yeah.
Just making the distribution deal easier, more accessible.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I really I'm pretty worried. Like if you had to ask me, like I think in 8 years, once this next TV deal's up, I think we're gonna see like a massive drop off in league revenue.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that means, but I don't think they can keep up with the NFL.
I just think,
dude, like you can't.
You just can't. And also, I would argue that I'm a big soccer fan. I think some of the guys up in like the Premier League, La Liga, they're seeing what the NFL is doing internationally. They're like, oh shit, we got whole games in America, right? And it's like if they're trying to I mean, think about this, right? They essentially scrapped the past format of the Champions League. So there was like a bunch of groups. There's a group stage, there's a round 16, and so on and so forth. Now it's everybody's in the same pod, right? So you don't play a single team twice. You play 8 games. Instead of September to December, it's September to end of January. And then there's a playoff round for the round 16, and then it's business as usual. But I think one of the reasons why they did that is they saw the NFL have like a 60, 70 game season where every game counts, right? And they're like, oh shit, like we gotta do something.
I guess that's what the NBA is trying to do with the NBA Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, about the NBA Cup, and the Bucks won. Do you see the Bucks somehow beating the Celtics in the playoff series, or making it close, or making it competitive at least? Because I don't see it, regardless of the result.
No. Especially if Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, then yeah, no chance.
I don't know if it bothers you, but every time that, I don't know, maybe it's a Twitter thing. Maybe I need to stop clicking on Buck's Twitter account posts. But like, I swear to you, anytime that the Bucks win or Giannis has a big statistical game, the amount of delusional takes I see are insane. They don't even tweet about their own team. They're talking shit about Jokic. They're talking shit about SGA. Talking shit about Luka. Oh, this guy can't defend. All this yada yada. And I'm like, bro, you know that Giannis hasn't made back to the conference finals since Donda was released. That was 2021. That was during the pandemic. Like, that's just crazy, bro.
Don't look up Kareem's playoff record.
Yeah.
In the 70s.
Yeah, I mean,
he's down destroyed in today's media landscape.
I mean, do you think the fact that there isn't like a consensus best player in the world in the NBA is hurting the product? Like, I mean, to me, it's clearly Jokic, but it seems like you get a different answer from like 5 different people.
I think there is a consensus, but yeah, I think everyone agrees it's easily Jokic.
So why do people try to argue that it isn't though? Like, I understand it's your guy, but like,
I haven't seen any of that.
Huh?
Who's arguing it's not Jokic?
Well, I mentioned Bucks fans. Yeah. Luka fans. I saw some people throwing Tatum. They all you can do all these things. Okay.
Look, man, I'm the biggest Luka guy out there. Everyone who's watched me for any amount of time knows that. I don't think Luka touches Jokic right now.
Yeah, definitely not.
So
it's just the disrespect that Jokic's been getting from all these other fan bases to me is so insane. Like, oh, they're changing the MVP criteria for him. Oh, he ruined the MVP discourse. Oh, he did this, he did that. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Toxic NBA Twitter.
It's not even NBA Twitter. Like, I see some of that shit on Reddit. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Jokic FC doesn't want to see you. Doesn't want people to see this. I'm like, who cares, bro? Like, here's the thing, bro. Like, there's certain players that get protected a lot on there. Do you go on Reddit?
I'm not really a big Reddit guy. I've never really.
All right.
Obviously, sometimes I'll look stuff up on there, but not really.
All right, so that subreddit loves Giannis, like they were so hard on the whole Giannis is the best player in the world skit back in like 2019, and ever since then, less and less and less people kind of believe in that until it was 2021, and everybody was like acting like he's like I have to say, okay, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I think this whole push for Giannis to be the best player in the world, or at least in the conversation, has hurt the discourse around the NBA. That his fan base, instead of realizing and having the self-awareness to kind of back off, they become a full-on like cult. That they try to spin every negative into a positive. And I know I might be sounding a little terminally online about this, but like, I'm just saying, like, it's kind of nasty, I'm not gonna lie.
It's like politics, bro. I know you're in Canada, but
yeah,
you can't be a fan of one side and say anything nice about the other.
Yeah,
right. Everything has to be pushing the other side down. If you're a Giannis guy, you can't admit that Jokic is good, right? If you're a Jordan fan, you can't admit LeBron is good.
Yeah,
you have to be overly critical about the other side to boost your own.
Yeah, that to me is kind of a problem. Like it's so funny. Because there's a take I heard from someone. It's Colin Cowherd. I know he loves to flip-flop and everything. He was saying Nick Sirianni should be fired for yelling at a fan a couple months ago. Now he's saying Nick Sirianni is like a top 5 coach in the NFL. I'm like, bro, pick a lane, bro. Pick one. So this take I heard was actually, it's not a crazy take to have, but I just kind of find it funny. He said that Josh Allen is the most talented NFL quarterback ever, which... it's not that crazy to say physically, but I'm like, bro, you just said the same thing about Mahomes after he won the Super Bowl last year. What changed?
Allen got better.
Like, even if he got better, come on, is he more talented than someone like Aaron Rodgers?
It's a good question.
I don't think so. To me, I don't even really think he's more talented than Mahomes. It's just that the way that the Chiefs' offense has become is like... Huh?
I would argue Anthony Richardson's the most talented quarterback ever.
That guy's interesting. No, obviously
right?
no. But...
like, are we talking just like athlete plus arm strength equals talent? Is that
that's a big problem in sort of NFL discourses. Like, people would over evaluate the physical stuff and forget the mental stuff. The mental stuff, I would argue, is more important than the physical stuff, right? So that's the thing. I mean, I look at it like this: like, if, let's say, for example, that the Buccaneers make the Super Bowl, and let's say they lose against the Chiefs or whatever, and Baker Mayfield has more Super Bowl appearances than Josh Allen. Are we going to start saying that Baker Mayfield's better? We're not going to say that, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's sometimes, if you want to be the elite of the elite, you have to win. And you have to win consistently. You have to be winning championships, right? But if you're below that, then things kind of get murky, right? So that's the thing too. So I'm gonna ask you this question: who was the most famous person to say, "I really like your content"?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Shaq has reshared and interacted with me on social. So
wow.
That's really cool.
How does that happen? I know he's online a lot, but how does that happen? Like,
yeah, I think it was. I think it's just my stuff popped up on his feed, and he commented or shared it on his story.
That's really.
I guess Shaq. He didn't explicitly DM me, "Yo, man, I love your videos," but
has anyone done that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few folks, but
like anyone like that would know, like notable NFL or NBA players.
No players. Oh. You know what I mean? Like, I talk too much shit about players for any of them to really like reach out. You know, like John Morant isn't gonna hit me. Yo, man, loved your Grizzlies video. Right? So
it's funny you say that. I feel like you're higher on the Grizzlies than most.
I know I am, but yeah, I don't think NBA players are sharing my videos in their team group chat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So what's the plans for the future of your channel? Are you gonna maybe try to turn this into like a show or something like that, or maybe you're gonna do more of the same thing?
I would love to hear what you think. What you would want to see me do.
Oh, okay. I would love for you to do a video about Mahomes versus the best stretch of Jordan's career if he three-peats. Like, think about it. The first 7 years Mahomes as a starter versus the best 7 years continuously with Michael Jordan. And just compare. It said, okay, this is a lot closer than people saying. I'm not saying the Mahomes is better than Jordan, but I'm saying, like, it's closer than people think. And I think that would be very interesting. Because it's not LeBron versus Jordan video. Because that's been beating the death. Right? It's not a Jordan versus Brady video. Because, again, that's kind of been beating the death. It's a very different take. Right? And I was talking about this with the guy I interviewed a couple of weeks back. And he's like, I was sort of like saying, like, are this version of the Chiefs, are they like the 90s Bulls of this generation? And we just can't look past our hatred and just appreciate what we're seeing? Because that's what I do.
Does that make Taylor Swift Carmen Electra?
I think that probably makes her Madonna, because Madonna dated Rodman back then.
Yeah, right.
So,
yep. It's a good comp. I think it makes a lot of sense, man.
Like, think about this for a second, right? Like, I think, to me, Mahomes' potential is, to me, this might sound so absurd, what I'm going to say. I think Mahomes could go down as the greatest individual to ever live. Just peak.
Greatest athlete ever?
Not beyond that.
No, just the greatest human ever?
Maybe. Like, I mean, I was thinking about doing a video about if he three-peats. Is he the greatest person ever from Texas?
Who else is up there for you?
In Texas? There's a lot of folks.
Oh, in Texas. I got you.
In Texas. Because he's from Texas. Who
else is up there?
There's Matthew McConaughey. I think Mahomes versus Matthew McConaughey conversation is kind of interesting, actually.
McConaughey's a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's a legend, too. Did you see that new Superman trailer?
I did not, but
it looks good. It's releasing on my birthday next year, so that's
nice.
That's a great birthday gift for me. That's a Mercy podcast for me. But
yeah.
I saw you did a video about LeBron. Does he deserve a Lakers statue? And you went all the way up to the actual statue.
I did.
Yeah. I didn't see the full video, but I think more of that type of content would be really, really cool.
Okay.
Like you going to these stadiums and it gives a cinematic feel.
Good call. That's good feedback. I liked it too. That was fun. I filmed a few more of those, so they're going to be dropping over the next couple of weeks. So
yeah.
Stay tuned. But yeah, I like that. It's good.
Yeah. So it's funny because I was thinking about this recently. I'm like, because I don't know. I feel like at least the NBA has clear, defined superstars. I look at hip hop right now for the new cats, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a barren wasteland.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of like, who is like? Think about this for a second, right? I don't know. I might be going on a little bit of a tangent, but like, I remember because I have my own YouTube account. It's a burner account. It's called Renegade. I don't know. You may have responded to me actually. I said, "Who is the Billie Eilish of the NFL?" And I don't know if you answered that or not.
Great question.
Huh?
Oh, you asked that to me?
Yeah, I think I commented at you, and I think you responded with like maybe Caleb Williams. You kind of jokingly replied,
"Oh, really, Caleb? That's actually not a bad." Yeah, okay. If I don't remember that, but if I did, I feel like Caleb Williams is actually a pretty good one.
I think that if there was one player to me that exemplifies, because what she's done since she's been 18 years old, it's been so insane, bro. So crazy. Like, I feel like she's the Mahomes of pop music. Kind of like...
You're a big Billie Eilish fan.
Yeah, I'm a big one. And I'm like, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this take recently. I'm like, is Taylor Swift Tom Brady of pop music? I'm just thinking about this, like, because their careers kind of like, they kind of resemble each other. Like, in the beginning, people wrote them off as a gimmick, game manager type, and then they became a superstar, and people are like, oh, well, she's not that good. And then 1984 comes out, and she's this all-time great. Like, that was her 07 moment, right? And then now it's like, she's in her, like, it kind of feels like she's in her, like, 2016, 17 Brady phase, where, like, we're just appreciating everything. But some people are getting very tired of her, right? Now, this Chiefs phase kind of feels like Tampa Bay, you know? This Eras tour is like Tampa Bay, you know? Like, I'm just saying.
She does the next Eras tour and makes another $1 billion.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, she's the biggest in the game, so.
So, do you think someone will surpass Jordan as a GOAT in the near future?
Brother, I think it happened about 8 years ago. 2016.
LeBron, yeah. Here's the thing, right? This is the last thing I'll say about this debate. I feel like this debate kind of tells me that a lot of these people don't really watch basketball like a full game. Because you watch a full game, those two guys they're clearly the best two players ever. Either way.
Right.
And it's so sad to see folks trying to tear down LeBron. Like, there's this YouTube account of you, and you know them or not, but Scap Attack and Angry Old Hoops Fan. Brother, I hate those two like crazy, bro.
Yeah.
They hate on LeBron. Like, the hatred of LeBron, Angry Old Hoops Fan does. It's so baffling to me. I'm like, it's like, and it's like, and then he loves Jokic. I'm like, you could say the same exact thing.
Well,
it doesn't make any sense.
Jordan fans never have anything good to say about LeBron, but like most LeBron fans always admit, like Jordan fans will often say, "Oh, LeBron's not even top 5." Every LeBron fan admits Jordan's number 2.
Yeah.
So I think that says a lot about the inherent bias.
Yeah, there is an inherent bias.
Jordan fans.
There is an inherent bias, and also the very fact, like, you know, they're sweating when LeBron won in 2020, and I'm gonna lie. They're sweating because that Last Dance documentary was supposed to be like the knockout punch, and LeBron ends up having the most dominant playoff run of his whole career, arguably. I swear that playoff run does not get talked about as much as it should, because he was dialed in.
Yeah, man.
I think you should do a video about that 2020 playoff run. I really think that, because I really think that people need, because the way that people dismissed it, like, oh, yeah, it's great, it's in the bubble, who cares? It doesn't count. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Is the worst. The bubble hate is the worst part of basketball conversation.
I hate that so much, bro. There's so many great series, bro. So many. I swear to you, like, that as much as it pains me as a Raptors fan seeing that us lose that Game 7, because I was in Germany, I couldn't watch most of the games. I was fast asleep. I wake up, right, and I go to the TV, and I was watching. It was like the last 2 minutes of the game when Marcus Smart blocked that shot. I'm like, yo, it's over. It's over. And that series was amazing, bro. Not gonna lie. That series was tough. And also, that kind of like showed me that Jason Tatum was that guy. He's clearly one of the best players in the league. Clearly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny enough about Jason Tatum. Do you think there's a world where Tatum is viewed as the best player in the world if the Celtics were to go back to back or somehow three-peat in the future or something like that, or even now?
I don't think it's out of the question. I think it's just hard to be better than Nikola Jokic.
It is hard. It is definitely hard. It's so funny, like, the way that people talk about that title. It's like they won 60-plus games. They destroyed everyone in the playoffs. Yeah, everybody kept saying, oh, they got lucky. I'm like, what are you talking about? They lost one combined game from the conference finals to the finals. Are you trying to tell me they got lucky? Most of those wins were blowouts. Besides the Pacers series. That's a great series, by the way. Despite the sweep. But, like, what are we talking about here?
It's like Jalen Hurts. He has a great roster around him. That doesn't make him bad.
I mean, but I think the difference... I understand. I agree. But Jason Tatum has made first-team All-NBA 3 straight years.
It's a little different.
Huh?
You're right. It's a little different.
It's a little bit different, right? But yeah, I do see the comparison coming from. I do see that comparison. But if this Celtics roster is so good, right? Why didn't Joe Mazzulla win Coach of the Year? Why didn't... the roster is so good. Right? Why didn't Brad Stevens win Executive of the Year? Because he constructed that roster.
Yeah.
Why wasn't Jaylen Brown on an All-NBA team? Why didn't Peyton Pritchard win Sixth Man of the Year or Derek White win Sixth Man of the Year, or at least in the conversation? But Naz Reid wins it just because. No disrespect, but come on now.
It's a good point, man.
Why didn't
I gotta run actually now that it's 7, but this was fun, man. Appreciate you having me on.
For sure. Sure.
I can answer one more question if you got one.
All right. This is a bit of a personal question, okay?
Sure.
Who was okay, how do I say this? Who was your celebrity crush back in the day or even now?
I mean, obviously you go through multiple.
Yeah. Of course.
At one point it was Zara Larson.
Oh, Zara. Bro, my brother was so obsessed about her. I'm like, I see it.
My other one was always Becky G.
Oh, Becky G was cool, yeah.
Yeah. Those are mine. What about you?
Oh, it's so funny. You're right. You're right about phases because those tend to happen. People don't really talk about that, but
right.
My first real crush, because I used to have day crushes. Like you watch a movie and you become obsessed about somebody for a day and then you forget about it. One of the first ones was funny enough was Juno, was Ellen Page. Back when she was Ellen Page, now she's Elliot. Some reason like my mind couldn't I couldn't get out of my mind for a day. My first real crush was Tub Low.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great music.
Yeah, no.
Good pick.
Yeah, then turned to Lana Del Rey. That was those 7-8 months with like, yo, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I couldn't stop like searching her up, listening to her music. I'm like, because the music I was listening to back in the day, like it was a lot of EDM shit. And then, funny enough, like I listened to her, and then I started listening to Yeezus, and that's how I got into hip hop. Actually, funny enough. So, and then they turned to like Kalani for a couple months.
Okay.
Then turned to Amelia Clark. And then it's sort of kind of like, then I started liking like Ray, then Anne Hathaway, then Jessica Alba, then Kerry Washington, then obviously Scarlett Johansson, and always loved Ray.
You got a lot of crushes, man.
Yeah, I do. my more recent ones has been it's funny.
Billie Eilish.
Yeah, Billie Eilish too. Haley Steinfeld.
Okay.
Millie Bobby Brown is probably my number one. It's so sad. It's so funny how much hate that she gets now. I'm like, well, she hasn't really done anything. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I'll just talk about Big Three. But you know what Big Three that people don't really talk about?
What?
The non-binary Big Three.
Who's that?
Emma Corrin, Emma Darcy from House of Dragons, and Bella Ramsey from Last of Us.
Gotta be honest, don't know. Oh, yeah, okay. I watched Last of Us, so I recognize her.
Yeah. I really appreciate having you on. You're a great guest, as always. And hopefully we can do more of these in the near future. So have a good day.
100%, man. No, this was fun. Appreciate you having me on. And, yeah, good luck with your career. And if I can ever be a resource, let me know.
All right. See ya.
All right, brother. Peace.
So that was the end of the Renegade podcast episode. I hope everyone enjoyed my interview of Andrew Fenichel. And go check him out. Go check my content out. Like and subscribe. And have a very nice day, everyone.